Hello and welcome back to Bremen Farmstead. It's a brisk September morning. I found a corn picker I want to go look at over in eastern Indiana, just west of Richmond. It's not too far of a drive, about an hour and a half. We're going to take the pickup truck and the neighbor's gooseneck trailer over there. It's far enough to where I don't want to drive over there in case we do end up coming home with it. But if this picker ends up not looking as good as I was hoping, or not as operational, we can do a little bit of work to it, and we won't be coming home with it. But on the off chance we do come home with it, I at least want to make sure we got the trailer with us. But hey, we got a lot to do today, so come along. That was a short little drive. We're just about there. Should be there in 3 miles. So when we get there, we'll take a look at this corn picker, see if it's worth our time to bring home or not. Well guys, I didn't show you that picker out of respect for the guy selling it. It was a John Deere 300. Didn't know when I left what kind of shape it'd be in. Went and looked at it. Not that it was bad by any means. If I had time to work on it, put a little work into it, needed all new chains and a couple of small things to make it work, but I need a picker that I can put to work in the next week or two. So I ended up finding one up in Michigan, about 4.5 hours from here. Talked to the guy the other night, work out a plan to come up there and look at it. Beautiful, beautiful shape picker. It was a 2-row, narrow, new idea with a 12-roll husking bed. Beautiful shape. The guy took great care of it. Well, to my luck, after I got off the phone with him that night, someone stopped by and bought it. So now I'm going down to Hamilton, Ohio, down by Cincinnati. There's another guy down there that has a 325 with an 8-roll bed. So narrow with an 8-roll bed. It's a little bit undersized for what I really want, but it will work. He's already sent me a video of it working. It looks to be in decent shape, nothing great, but definitely decent shape. So we're gonna go down there. It does supposedly come with a parts unit, so hopefully we can fit both of them on this gooseneck trailer and be back before the end of the day. Let's come along. We got a lot of work to do. We're getting close to the address down here outside of Hamilton, Ohio. So we're almost down to location here where this picker's supposed to be in Hamilton, Ohio. I've noticed that a lot of the crops down here seem to be a lot further along. Most of their corn has already turned yellow. Ears are dropping. There's a couple fields of soybeans off already. So we'll see you again when we're done. When we're done at this place. Well, we're on the way home. I ended up buying that picker. I wouldn't say it's the best picker in the world by any means. It's an operable picker. It does work. It should work well yet. I did not take the parts picker with me. The guy said that if I needed anything, I could come back and get it. So I might make another trip down here to grab some parts off that one. We are going to be back home here in a little while. We'll hopefully show you guys unloading this, bring it back to the farm, go over it a little bit. And then hopefully in the next couple weeks you guys can see it working out in the field. Well, we made it back. I'm at my neighbor's getting ready to unload this. I'm down here unloading it because A, it's their trailer, and B, they've got the equipment to unload it with. I had this elevator laid down to get under height and had a strap on it. Now, we hit a bump on the way home. That strap broke and the elevator was only about 6 inches or so off of this, and it came down and nailed that plate. So either I have to go back and get the parts elevator off the parts picker, or I've got to fix this one. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start unloading this thing, get it off this trailer, and get back to our farm.
What did he pick it up with?
These skid loaders.
So he picked it up on the axles and...
Yeah. Good. Who wants to do that and who wants to do that?
I'll let Sean decide. I'm willing to do whatever it's gotta be.
I can drive that truck real easy. I've never drove a skid loader.
Me neither.
Well guys, we got the picker back to the farm. I've got it hooked up to the 4430. I have ran it already, but we'll show you what we got. So this picker is a new idea. It's a 325 gathering unit with a 326 8-roll husking bed, which is referring to these rolls right here. There's 8 of them. A 327 would have 12 rolls in it. So this one is smaller. It's going to be a little undersized for what I really want to do. But beggars can't be choosers. This unit does work. It might not look like it's in the absolute best shape, but I promise you this thing is actually quite nice. I've already noticed a couple small things I want to tweak and make adjustments to. A couple chains that I either want to replace or tighten, but it's all going to work, and it's going to work well for me. So one misconception with a lot of these new idea pickers is the numbering on them, what they actually are. So all of these new ideas came from the factory, Coldwater, Ohio, which is actually just down the road from here. My grandpa actually worked at the factory in the machine room and pressed out parts and did different things there. And actually my great-grandfather as well worked in shipping and receiving there on the shipping docks. But with these pickers, there's actually 2 numbers. And the reason for is there's actually a number for the gathering unit. That number plate for the gathering unit can be found typically on the front up by the PTO, and right here it says model 325. So that identifies that this is a narrow row picker. And as for the gathering unit, the reason there's 2 different ones is A, because of sizing. You get 8-roll beds, 12-roll beds, but also you could take this husking bed off the back of this picker and fit it with a sheller, to where instead of husking the corn and leaving you ear corn, you would get shelled corn. And the number plate for that is found on the back here. You can see it. It's a little bit, it might be hard to see, but it says 326. So a 326 again would be an 8-roll bed. A 327 would be a 12-roll bed. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think a wide row is a 324, the narrow is a 325, the 8-roll bed was a 326, the 12-roll bed was a 327. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So there's 2 numbers per picker. So oftentimes you'll see these listed. Oh, it's a new idea 327. Well, if they get that off just the serial plate back here, it means it has a 12-roll bed. That doesn't tell you if it's a wide row or a narrow row. It just tells you it has a 12-roll bed. What you really need to find out is what the actual gathering unit, which is the rest of this picker, what that setup is, that if that's a 325 or 324. This picker, though, I believe is in good operable condition. Again, a couple of the chains need to be tightened up or replaced. Everything seems to work well. I'll show you here in a minute with it running. I did actually have the elevator running even after my goof up and getting the bottom bent up like this. Granted, if I put this under load, I'm afraid that maybe the slip clutch will catch. But it does run well. So I just turned the picker on. Everything needs greased up, everything needs a little oil. Give you a good view here of the husking bed. So yeah, this picker runs pretty good. Grease it up, look it over really well. So it's September 12th, and as you can see, this corn is nowhere near ready for picking. It's very green, The ears are all standing straight upright. We do have very dry weather. It's been very dry, and it's supposed to be warm into the 80s the next 2 weeks, high 80s. This will dry down some more, but if I had to guess, we've got at least a week, if not 2 weeks plus, until we'll be picking this corn. This corn was more of a silage corn to get bigger ears out of it, make it easier picking. We'll see how they husk. I may switch to a different seed supplier for my corn next year, because there's 2 other people in my nearby community that pick corn yet, and one of them had suggested a different variety, and he's been picking corn a lot longer than I ever have. He's been doing it his whole life. So he suggested a certain seed variety that a local company carries, and I might try that out next year. So we'll see. But as for this new idea picker, this isn't my first picker I've ever owned. So the first picker that I ever had was a picker that I bought out of Bremen, Ohio. I live in New Bremen, but I bought out of Bremen, Ohio, which is southeast Ohio. It was a John Deere 327 mounted picker. Beautiful condition. I know the guy sold it to. He still has it. He's never used it sitting in the building yet. If I get a chance, I might buy it back. But that picker I would put on my 4010. It was set up for really wide rows, 40 plus, if I remember right, 40 inches plus. I was running 36-inch rows through it. It was pretty difficult. My 4010 that I did have it on, although I will tell you, mounting a mounted picker on that tractor was actually very easy. A buddy and I, we did it for about 3 years straight. He helped me put it on, and by the time it took us to strip the tractor down and get the picker mounted, only took us about 2 hours, which you have people talk about old mounted pickers. They talk about taking a whole day to put it on, and don't get me wrong, the 327 was the last model that John Deere made that was a mounted picker. And they did a lot of things right with that one. It was very easy to put on. The bracketry, how you put it on the tractor, and how the tractor pulled into the picker, it worked very well. I ended up getting rid of that picker and went to a 2-row wide new idea. The reason I did was my 4010 at that time was my only large tractor. It's the one that's actually broke in the tool shed right now that I got to work on yet. But that tractor, I was starting to have a lot of issues with it getting hot. It's a tractor that's been in this family for a very long time, and it meant a lot to me, so I didn't want to damage that tractor, because it would get hot running it, and it got very, very, very dusty and dirty on that picker. I'd get very dusty and dirty. If you guys remember from my oat harvesting video, I have allergies. Believe it or not, a farmer with allergies. I get it, right? But I have allergies. And all that dust and dirt, as cool as that picker was, it wasn't something that I felt was very practical for me to be using year after year on this farm. Also, it seemed to be that there was a couple years when it was time to pick. I was also doing fourth cutting hay. This year, I got my fourth cutting hay in already. I don't have to worry about it. The corn's not ready. But there was a couple years where I was trying to cut and bale hay, and the corn was ready. So it was very difficult. I know I said 2 hours and all, but to go from thinking that you would be able to get your corn picked to, oh, I got to go, cut my hay and make my hay, and I got to switch. It was a lot of inconvenience. I couldn't just switch it easily, unlike, a pull-type picker, just unhooking it and being able to move to something else. So I bought a wide row new idea, and that one was actually a 12-roll bed. So that would have been a 324 with a 327 bed. I used that picker for approximately 2 years. Worked well for me. I ended up selling that to a guy north of here. As far as I know, he's still using it. It works well for him. But I sold that because I wanted to go from wide rows down to narrow rows. At that point in time, I started in trucking, and I didn't have as much time on my hands anymore, and I was hiring out my planting. All of the guys around here that were willing to plant my corn all had 30-inch row planters. I didn't really feel like going and using a wide row on 30-inch rows, so I sold that picker, and I bought a 1-row picker. That 1-row picker was in pristine condition, in my opinion. I had a 450 Farmall diesel for a little while, and I used that picker with that tractor. I thought it worked well, did well. I had that picker and picked with it for a couple years, and then we had an issue. There was a tornado that came through. You've heard me mention it before. Took out my buddy's property. My picker was in his barn when the barn blew down. That picker ended up getting taken to the scrapyard. I was pretty upset about that. It was a 1-row, and I would have rather preferred to have a 2-row, but it worked well. I only pick about 5 to 7 acres a year of corn, so it wasn't a big deal to have only 1-row. Last year, I was looking for pickers, and I ended up finding a New Idea Uni. Thought that would be the best option ever. I went and I got that picker, brought it home. It had a 3-row head on it. The picker worked okay. It definitely had some issues. The picking action of it, cleaning the corn, actually harvesting it, it did very well. The clutch was out on it, and I kept an eye on that motor. I serviced it, did a lot of work to it to get it running. I ended up putting a new starter on it. I redid all the ignition system. I went through, did general coolant change. I drained oil, did oil change on it, and ran it. And I noticed after about halfway through picking that it started using oil. So that's not good. I was starting to have issues with it, not wanting to start, starting hard. I kept putting oil in it, kept trying to get it to go, get me through the rest of the picking. I got down to the point where I had approximately 12 rows left to go. I've been putting oil in it, keeping it moving. I wasn't using a ton, but it was starting to use some, and the motor locked up. I looked into it more. I kind of figured by the time that I would get the investment into that Uni picker, that New Idea Uni, of now rebuilding this 6-cylinder gas Chrysler motor, putting a new clutch in it, and anything else it might need at that point, I was getting too far into it. I didn't want to invest that much more money into that machine, so I ended up getting rid of it. So, come down to crunch time. Nobody wants to sell a picker in the middle of the year. They finally want to sell them here in the fall. So we found this one. This wasn't the first picker I looked at. There was actually one specifically that I would have loved to have had compared to this one. But when you lose the opportunity, you lose the opportunity. I first looked at another 325 with a 326 bed up at an auction. That one ended up getting sold off the auction as a consignment. I didn't get to it in time. There was a John Deere 300 I looked at. That one would have been a decent picker, but I've got a week or two here, and I only looked at it earlier this week, and it was going to need a lot of work. It was able to be used yet with work. I would have had to replace all the chains and most of the bearings, gathering chains, every drive chain. They'd all been locked up. They've been sitting outside for quite some time, and quite a few of them were very worn out. So there's quite a bit of money associated with putting new chains on all that, not just gathering unit chains, but every single chain on that picker. So I passed on that one. Then earlier this week, I had found one for sale 4.5 hours north of here in Michigan. It's a really nice looking picker. Talked to the guy on the phone. Picker was in beautiful condition, looked very nice. It was a 325 with a 327 bed, so it had the nice 12-roll bed. Picker was very, very, very nice. I mean, paint looked awesome on it. The husking bed, he had rebuilt it all, had all new rollers in it, all new rubber on the rollers, and it had whole new fingers on it, and everything else looked pretty decent. Trying to set up a time to go pick that picker up, and no more than I get off the phone with the guy. Guy pulled in his driveway and bought it off him. I'm happy for the guy. He got it sold. It's good. So we lost our opportunity on that one, but now we got this one. We'll put this one to use this fall. We'll see how it goes. I'm expecting to probably have some issues whenever you buy any piece of machinery, especially used. Something's going to happen. It's bound to happen. And I expect the same here. But hey, that's it for today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We can do a lot here, but we can't grow this channel without your help. Thank you, and have a good day.